Yeah, hey, legends, and welcome to the Pot Noodle on Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight are Liam and Shane. How you going, Liam?
Good, mate. Good. Champion, you might say.
Champions again. Gotta love it. I was going to start with the sing-song, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to lose all the people tuning in, so, you know, we'll get there anyway. But how you doing, Shane?
I do love karaoke. That's out there for the world to know now. So I would have absolutely indulged in a sing along. I think I've made a rod for my own back now by putting that out there so publicly. But anyway, I'm good, mate. I'm really good. Had another pretty packed weekend with sport. Got out to the pub to watch the mighty Melbourne Victory get the win against Wellington. The VUC got the win, and they're off to a grand final. So looking to secure
Happy
their fifth
days.
title on the weekend in Gosford. So that was Saturday, sort of early afternoon, and then wandered out to the CSC to celebrate in Trophy Day later that night. So it was a good night all round. Really enjoyed it.
Come on now, you can fill in the blanks about your adventure on Trophy Day, like what actually happened at the pub and the last minute scramble and all that, if you want.
Well, went to the initial pub we go to, and unfortunately, it seemed like they weren't having it on show for whatever reason. So had to scramble real quick to get out to the Jockstein CSC out in St Kilda. Big shout out to Vinny who was prepared and drove us out there. And was able to celebrate Trophy Day out there instead, which was good, and got to chat to a few like-minded Celts throughout the night, which is always a pleasure.
It was good night all round. I had a bit of fun doing the match day coverage with Axom, so haven't done that in a while. So yeah, couldn't get to the pub in time, so that filled in the blank there, and it was just great fun. Just happy camper over here. So yeah, I think we've got a little bit to talk about tonight, but as you can see, the podcast episode name, Trophy Day Double, as Celtic lift the SPFL and SWPL trophies at Paradise. What we thought was going to be one Trophy Day turned into two. Absolute unbelievable. So before we get into the Celtic St Mirren game, I just want to throw it to you, Liam. Celtic women's team winning the title in the last minute. Unbelievable result. Great job by the girls. And we've said numerous times on this podcast, and I said on Axom on the weekend that, you know, we've got so much money coming into the club. We've got something with player sales and with Champions League and the money already there. Can we actually back our women's team properly too? Now, I know there's going to be someone in the comments who'll probably say, I don't care about the women's team. Well, good for you. I do care about them. So we're entitled to our different opinions. But Liam, your thoughts on that? And will we see the women's team get back to going forward?
Well, I mean, just for a bit of context, it's important to remember that this season they won the championship despite being the third best financed team in that league. And again, having to chop and change pre-season because we don't retain a lot of our better players due to the fact that we're not a particularly high-paying club. So it really is an amazing achievement on so many fronts, and done in spite of the investment, not rather than because of it. We had no right competing for that title, to be honest, considering the levels of investment, but we did, and we won it, and it must have been great to be a fly on the wall at Broadwood when the Huns were 4-0 up and thought that they'd won the title, only for that last minute goal to go in. But their pain is fueling me right now. I'm not going to lie.
Right into your veins, Liam. Shane, what was your thoughts on it all?
Oh, it's a wonderful achievement, to win the title for the first time. Obviously, Liam's follows the team a bit more than I do, so I'm not going to try and pretend or jump on the bandwagon and necessarily say I've been there from the start. I've sort of tuned in a little bit in and out, but it's a very important part of the club as our women's team. They're one that we should celebrate and should invest in more. And if we can, obviously take the opportunity when we can to talk about them and celebrate them and their achievements. I didn't catch much of the match yesterday due to other commitments, but I did tune in for the last 25 minutes. And it was a little bit nerve-wracking. It looked like the girls might have been just a little bit fatigued on the wider pitch at Paradise, and just in the sun as well. It seemed to be a little bit taxing, but just that absolute moment of individual brilliance from Amy Gallagher. What a wonderful bit of skill, just to control it like she did. Initially miscontrolled it, but when she got it back, just to control it and turn on it, it's a wonderful finish. And from there, it was party time. And credit to them and what Elena's done in charge of the team since taking over from Fran. She's done an excellent job with that squad, and Liam's really underlined, just from a financial perspective, how good a job she's done. So credit to her and credit to all the girls, and double celebration tonight.
100%. So I'm going to bring up my funniest thing that I saw about that result overnight. It was this update at 4 p.m. or whatever it was. Rangers for a party. Rangers bench have just found out about the late goal at Celtic Park. Hands on heads. Amazing. Great to see. Right into the vein. Congratulations to our women's team. Elena, great job. The work that Fran has done establishing that program the last few years as well deserves a pat on the back for him as well. And yeah, I want to see this continue now. It's we're in a good spot, so let's use it as a launching pad, finance the women's team, finance the men's team properly, and let's use one of my favorite sayings, let's crack on and keep bringing in trophies. Happy days. So yeah, we'll start now. We'll jump ahead off to the men's game. So Celtic 3, St Mirren 2 on Trophy Day. So I had the starting lineup, and I just thought I had it on the screen, but it was on my phone, and I put the phone down. So give me a moment. That's the women's starting lineup. Whoops. Here we go. So Hart in goals, Ralston, Welsh, Naroski, Taylor at the back, O'Reilly, McGregor and Hatade in the middle, Kun and Palmer on the wings with Kyogo in the middle. So there was a few changes. The key thing for me was the midfield. Yeah, that was fine. I thought that was stock standard. Get them through the 60-minute, make some subs, which we did, and keep guys fresh for the weekend. I said it was a bit of an interesting one having Palmer and Kun out there together. It was two more. Normally you have a balance of made of the work rate guy and you have the skillful guy, and we had the two skillful wingers out there together. So it was a bit of a different sort of attack, but I didn't mind that at all. And then Kyogo doing Kyogo things in the middle of the pitch. But the big question when you looked at that lineup was the back line. Ralston, Welsh, Naroski. Now, going into it, I was looking at that going, I'm not too fussed with the back line, because every single one of those guys in that back line would start for any other team, well, at least 10 of the other 11 teams in the league. So Welsh would play at a lot of clubs in the Scottish Premiership. Naroski would. Ralston would if they were elsewhere. So I was okay with those guys coming in and showing off a bit of depth there. But, gee, that's what I said pre-game, and that's what I thought. But, boy, did that not come to fruition and work out the way I thought it was going to. So, Shane, what was your thoughts on the back line and the lineup when you saw that?
Similar to yourself, like it's Trophy Day. We've wrapped up the title. We've got a cup game coming up next weekend. It's a good opportunity for Brendan to rest a few key players in preparation for that game. And it's also a good opportunity for a few role players to get a bit of a run as well. And so I could see the changes coming. I think all of the changes were probably self-explanatory, really. I don't think there were any surprises. And similar to yourself, when I saw the lineup, I was relatively comfortable about how things would go. But that quickly changed. That back four looked very disjointed, particularly the two centre halves. So Naroski and Welsh playing together just did not perform very well, particularly Stevie Welsh. But overall, they didn't really gel. And maybe it's a little bit unfair to expect them to gel so quickly, having probably never played before. I don't know if you've even had that centre half pairing throughout. No. So maybe it's a little bit unfair to expect them to kind of gel like that. And I think the other thing to take into account is, despite the fact we wanted to win, we really weren't going 100 mile per hour. We weren't playing at our peak at any stretch throughout this match. So you've got this kind of fluctuating performance within the whole 11 on the pitch, as well as a bit of a back four that's kind of finding their way together. You can kind of understand it and understand how things went a little bit.
And Liam, you got anything to add with that?
No, I think it was a really entertaining game. I think that St Mirren came to have a go, probably because, like us, the pressure was off them, and it made for a much more entertaining spectacle. No, I mean, it's good that you can sit down and watch a game and not feel that. Obviously, you want Celtic to win, but you don't really feel that bad either way. And you can just sit back and watch a good game of football, which is what that was.
Yeah, and looking at it, you got Stephen Robertson, who's a good quality manager. You got Rogers there, so the teams will get out and play. And the fact of the matter is, St Mirren, their position wasn't going to change. Neither was ours. So they came and just played football. And if you're a neutral watching that would have been a very entertaining game to watch. For me, watching the game, even though I'm with the green tinted specs on and everything like this, wanting us to win, I was just like, this has been a real good quality, like open game, entertaining end-to-end football. And yeah, we got caught out with a couple of dodgy, I wouldn't say dodgy, but the long throws into the box that our guys just didn't go and clear, and that's what led to their goal, their first goal. But we got caught out twice on that, and then the second time you have Welsh just getting caught out again, out of position as a penalty. People are saying, oh, it's a 50-50. People are saying, oh, it shouldn't be a penalty. His leg's gone, but he bumped him up the top. But if that was the other way around, you'd be calling for a penalty. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's the way I'm looking at it. Like, if that was us in the box with the exact same contact, I'd be wanting the penalty. So I can live with that. So all things considered, the first half was very open. It's good playing. I thought we did a lot well down our left side of the pitch with Palmer in particular. He did well down there. I thought he was more starved to the ball than anything. And yeah, we did all right. So Shane, just give us your general thoughts on that first half and the goals.
Yeah, it was a pretty open game. Like I said, I don't think we were playing at our usual level. And I don't mean in terms of quality on the park, but I think maybe levels of concentration. I don't think we did anything to necessarily stop the game being as open as it was. And you're right, St Mirren came to play, and they were good value for the 2 goals they scored, right? So credit to them. Yeah, look, it was interesting. I really enjoyed the work of Kyogo up top. I thought he was working really hard. I thought service coming in a little bit was a bit tough for him. I thought sometimes we were sort of, looking to find him with crosses into the box instead of actually playing to his feet. But I thought he worked really hard, and it was evident on that first goal in particular. I don't know if you want me to sort of go into talking about the goals or leave that for another moment.
I just said go for it, like with your first half and the goals. So go for it, Shane. I've already touched on the goals, so over to you, mate.
Well, the work rate from Kyogo on that first goal was really impressive. He's getting the ball with his back towards goal. He's pushing himself into his the centre half that's marking him, who's a lot bigger and stronger than him. And he does really well to hold up the ball. Now, I think it's Gogic that knocks the ball away in the end from him, which creates the opportunity for O'Reilly. But that really comes from Kyogo's hard work and his hustle against an opponent that's much bigger than him. So credit to him. He didn't need to do that, and he could have easily sort of tried to lay it off, but he did a really good job of holding up the ball there. And then he's obviously central to the second goal in which he scores, which is a wonderful bit of play on the right with Hatate where the ball breaks. And if you haven't had an opportunity to check out the unique angles that Celtic TV put up and check out that second goal, you've got a great camera shot of where the ball's won on the right. And you've got this awesome shot of seeing Kyogo make his run and Hatate, literally the camera facing Hatate, and you just see him carry the ball up the park, and you can see him constantly looking, just waiting till Kyogo's in that right spot. And then as soon as he's got him where he needs him, he whips in a perfect ball for him to finish. And that was, I don't think we played really well in that first half, all things considered, but there were some moments of brilliance that punctuated throughout. And those 2 goals in particular were 2 moments of brilliant play. So, yeah, I think that's all I have to say on the first half and the goals.
Liam, over to you, mate, for your thoughts and everything on it.
Yeah, 2 very well crafted goals from us. Really, really nice finish for the first goal and a really beautiful move for the second goal. Defensive lapses were quite clear to see, but it's a makeshift defence because we're resting CCV for next week. It's a shame, but I think
Liam for a second.
So, yeah,
will we really rest in CCV for next week, or are we resting him because he was hungover from being up on the table, yelling too bad, Randy, all that sort of stuff? Which one do you think it was? A little from column A, a little from column B?
We bit of both, maybe. Nothing wrong with that. But I think, look, I wouldn't freak out about the fact that there were defensive lapses at both the goals we conceded, because that's not a defence that's going to start any games for us anytime soon. And I think Stephen Welsh has probably played his last game for Celtic, unfortunately. I think his deficiencies particularly were really shown up in that first half.
Yep, and that's something that I was going to say when we're talking about the second half, but I thought once Welsh went off and Scales came on and Naroski moved across to the right, Naroski went to a whole nother level of better performance. Like, he was good in the first half, but in the second half, he looked like a man on a mission out there. And then on Saturday, with Scales to the left there, it just balanced the whole back line out a lot more. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Welsh has got history of when he's not playing well of going off injured. Now, that did look like a sore one, but against Rangers, he went off. Against St Mirren here, he went off hurt. If you're his teammate and you're sitting there looking across the locker room at him, what are you thinking? He's playing like shit and he's doing that. For me, I'd be asking questions. And RL77 in the comments is saying Stephen Welsh is only a few months into a 4-year contract. The positive to that is that means that we should get a decent fee for him.
Yeah.
So there we go. Smell the glove. Welsh gets injured putting his boots on. And then he's another James McCarthy waste of contract. So, yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one with what's been going on. But all things considered, yeah, I think he needs to move on, just like what you said, Liam. I think he's run his race. If one of those Italian clubs that put in a big offer for him a few years back are interested, see you later. Off you go. All the best. Go do well over there.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes. I think Brendan, and we've said this on the pod before, I think Brendan really does rate him quite highly. I think Brendan, at a lot of opportunities, has looked to try and either get him more first-team football at Celtic or even try and establish him as a starting centre-half. I don't think that's going to happen now. And it'll be interesting to see what happens over the course of this window if we do get a bid or if someone does come in for him, whether Brendan and co are willing to part with him or not.
Well, as Andrew's saying in the comments here, Welsh is one of our Scottish quota squad players, and that's the thing. So if he's going to go, then more than likely, I'm just going to say it, Scott McKenna's on a free. We know Rogers likes him. More than likely, it'll be Welsh out, McKenna in to fill that spot. And McKenna has the turning circle of a Mack truck, so I don't think it'd be too much of an upgrade, but that's probably the only workaround I can think of there.
McKenna's good enough for Scottish Premier League level. I think, assuming we've got 2 better centre halves for the Champions League, I wouldn't mind throwing him in a league game if need be. Yeah. Which is pretty much the situation Welsh is in now anyway.
The way I look at it, Liam, is we should be okay. I can understand why you bring McKenna in for the quota thing, but my view on it is I would rather have our current starters, if we can bring in someone to challenge them and be better than them and make them have to raise the game to keep their spot, then if the current guy doesn't make it into the team, the current guy makes it in the team, the starter drops to the bench and our squad's stronger, right? So realistically, Nawrocki showed enough on the weekend for me, especially when he went to the right-hand side, that Carter Vickers is our starter for Europe. Nawrocki will be nipping at his heels. So the right centre-back position is covered. Left centre-back, I want Scales to hang around, but be that backup left centre-back. I want someone better at left centre-back to come in, whether it's that Jake Salter Clark we're being linked with, who's a big, 6'5" left-sided centre-back. Bring him in and Scales, and they can battle it out for that left side. Maybe that'll work. Maybe there's someone else. But long story short, I don't think that I don't think McKenna's the answer, because what I'm saying is I want someone to come in above Scales to make Scales either have to lift his game again to hold his position or drop in and be the backup. So I don't think McKenna's the answer to that, but I do understand the Scottish quota thing that has to come into it. Smell the Glove is saying McKenna's left-footed, so no upgrade on Scales. Exactly what I just said there, mate. So I agree with you. And Big Rob, why are you giving Welsh crap? Kelmack was at fault, and it's Rocky side of the goal comes in from. It's got nothing to do with Scottish bias again, mate. It's the side of the field the ball comes from on the throw and where the first bounce is, above all else. The first centre-back should be coming through and clearing that, getting his head on it and clearing that ball as it comes in. The ball should not hit the deck. It should be bouncing and going across further to where Kelmack and Nawrocki are at a position and not covering things properly. It should be cleared at the front side of the box. So that's why I'm saying that's on Welsh.
It's also a pattern with Welsh. I mean, cannot fault the guy's effort, okay? He always gives 100%, but there's clear deficiencies in his game when you compare him to somebody like Carter Vickers, for example, who is clearly a vastly better player. It's just, nothing against the boy. I just don't think he's quite at the level that we need to go forward where we're going to go next.
I have a question. Shane, if you were playing right centre-back, would you have cleared that?
As in if I was a lot taller, or me currently?
Just you now.
Oh, I couldn't clear shit, mate.
Is that before or after somebody drops a stool on him? Yeah.
Shane's on top of the stool.
Even on top of the stool, I'd struggle to clear that.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get into the second half a little bit more. So, so generally I thought second half was more of the same. Left side was decent again, continued. As Robert's saying here, I was waiting for this comment from you, Robert. Despite the tap-in, Palmer is still a wanker. I was waiting for that. I was like, when's Robert going to get in here and comment? There's just certain characters that you just know. It doesn't matter what happens, and that's the one there. So, yeah, for me, it's an interesting one. But, yeah, I thought second half we could have scored 4 or 5 in that half. We were just wasteful. The first half, we took our chances. Second half, we were a bit wasteful. But as I said it about the first half, if the game was for a neutral, that would have been love and life watching that game. Liam, you're going all blurry. So, while everyone's trying to figure out what you look like here, let us know your thoughts on the second half.
It was just it was a good back and forth game. And we looked like we were going to win it. And sure enough, Palmer popped up with a goal and we did win it. Beautiful ball across for the winning goal. I thought that was really impressive. Just a good game, and we just edged it in the end. But as I said before, credit to St Mirren for making a really good fist of it and a really decent contest. It's exactly the sort of game you want to bring down the curtain on a great season.
Oi. Liam, no mentions of fists on this podcast, okay? Jane, what was your thoughts second half? Just general on the goals and everything.
Similar to the first, but I think we had the bulk of the better chances in the second half, whereas I thought the first half they had a couple of good chances which they took as well as us, whereas second half I think they probably had one decent opportunity late, I think, from memory, which drew a save. And then outside of that, I think we were odds on to hopefully get a winner. Came a little bit later than expected, but that's okay. It was a wonderful ball across from Tony Ralston. Like just that play on the right, it's a lovely little back heel from O'Reilly, but that ball Tony whips in is just incredible. He fizzes it in with pace. It's got a little bit of arc on it, and it's just perfect. And all Palmer literally has to do is tap it in. That was a fantastic delivery and well worthy of a goal-winning assist for Tony, who I thought had a really good game at right back as well. We're talking obviously about defensive deficiencies, but I think Tony at right back performed very well and continued to show himself as obviously a very reliable player that you can call upon when needed.
Well, speaking about individual players, that's perfect little segue there, Shane, because, you thought we normally do our player focus and go around in the room here and just talk about different players. And, you just mentioned Ralston, and for me, someone I wanted to talk about was Palmer. Like, I thought that was his best game for the club for the season. I made a joke on Axom that maybe he's hibernated over the winter in Glasgow, doesn't like the cold weather, because he played well at the start of the season into Europe, then just disappeared for like December through to pretty much start of April, and now he's starting to hit form again. So maybe he doesn't like playing in cold weather when, he's from Honduras, he's been playing in Greece, and now he's up here. So I said that for a bit of a laugh to see their comments kick off something funny. And it was great fun. So I reckon he was hibernating for a few months there. But putting that aside, I thought that was his best game of the season. Well, and his delivery from the corners was just pinpoint all game, and it was great to see. Like, how much have we struggled for a long time with our corners? And I thought pretty much the whole first half in particular, every corner he put in looked really dangerous. I actually would have liked him to have a shot from the corner at one point. I thought the keeper's on his heels, have a crack with how pinpoint he's getting there. He could maybe sneak one in. So, I wanted to give him credit. I've absolutely ripped him to shreds all year when he's been shit. So I'm going to give him credit when he played well. Liam, carry on about any play now.
No, I think that Kyogo, goal aside, had a very good game, just linking up and making things happen. Even, as the seasons wore on, it's been more and more evident that there's a lot more to Kyogo than just goals. He is really proving his worth as a creative influence, and as we talked about it at the start of the season, how we weren't happy with how Rodgers was utilising Kyogo, but I really think Kyogo has adapted and grown into that role and is a better player for it where we are now.
He's developed his game by playing the way he has this season. I'll give credit where it's due. He had like 19 goals in the league or something like that this season, and we think he's played a shocking. We think he's had a pretty bad season compared to previous years, but you look at as you're saying, the all round, and he's been carrying a shoulder injury most of the season. So I think he's done well, and his game has evolved in the same way Maeda's game has evolved. James, he's come from nowhere, and O'Reilly has just gone to another level as well. So Shane, you got anyone else you want to give him a bit of a big up?
No, it was actually going to be Kyogo, to be honest. Kyogo was the second one I had on my list. I was similar to Liam. I was really impressed by his performance and just his link up and general work rate as always. And particularly because he was up against two really physical centre halves. Now, that's not unusual, but the likes of Gogic, they're pretty imposing physically. And I thought he more than held his own in that scenario. And you've got the likes of Bacchus dropping in from midfield and causing havoc and kicking the crap out of him and stuff like that. And I thought Kyogo worked really well. So a shout out to him. And there's obviously another element to his game that maybe we hadn't really seen until this season. Obviously, we're used to him playing more off the shoulder and kind of running towards goal. And it's funny, the two goals were kind of a microcosm of maybe new Kyogo and old Kyogo. That first goal, he's getting the ball with his back towards goal, pushing into the defender, and then, basically creating the opportunity for O'Reilly to score. But the second goal, it's a fast break and he's on the move and he's already started to run and he knows exactly where he needs to be for Hart to meet him. And I thought that was a a good kind of combination of old Kyogo and new Kyogo, or vice versa, actually. New Kyogo and old Kyogo.
One I want to touch on as well is it's normally player focus, but I'm going to use it as a little one here. The player focus is Joe Hart. And the fact that I think at halftime when he's come out after seeing that big tifo for him, he's had a bit of a blub. But let's be honest, he looked a little emotional and everything looking at it. And it's just great to see that, you know, the way he's been embraced by the club and the way Joe Hart has played out the season and everything like that. He'll always be welcome back at Celtic Park. And yeah, it's just great to see that we always talk about the holy trinity of the players, the fans, the board, right? Well, probably not the board still. There's a lot of questions there, but the players and the fans are in this together, and it is just great to see again.
Are we ready to wax lyrical about Joe?
Yeah, why not?
So.
I don't think it can be understated just how important he has been to Celtic, and I don't mean just in terms of his shot-stopping capabilities. When Ange came in, Ange was obviously fresh into Europe, coming over from Japan. He wanted to implement a style. It was effectively a clean-out, somewhat of a rebuild. And when you're undertaking that as a manager for really, to be honest, your first major gig in Europe, you need good leaders and good people in the dressing room that help see that vision and help build that vision and help get people on board. And I think Joe was really integral to that. His leadership cannot be understated during the Ange era and what he did to help that era be successful, but it's continued under Brendan. You know, he is an absolute leader, both on the park and off the park. And I think that quality is something we might find a shot stopper that's good, even better than Joe, but that leadership quality and who he is as a person is going to be very, very hard to replace. And that's just the incredible mark of that man. So if I had a glass of beer, look, I've got water. That'll do. I'll raise that to you, Joe. And Joe, if I can indulge a little bit longer, left us with what I hope will actually be a quote that goes down in Celtic folklore. And he actually said this during the aftermatch presser when he was talking and being interviewed. And someone had during the week asked him, how do you describe to people Celtic? How do you explain all of this, you know, the love and the support and everything that Celtic is? And he left us with this quote, which I think is quite profound. And as I said, I hope it goes down in folklore. And he said, this is a club. This is not a club that needs explaining. This is a club that speaks for itself. And I genuinely hope that quote is something that rings around the annals of Paradise and Celtic for here on in, because I reckon that speaks volumes about who we are as a club and what we need to players and supporters alike.
The fact that he came in, and I had my doubts when he first came in, and there's no disputing it, and it wasn't because of him. It was because of how he'd suit Ange's system. And Vinny, Ange saved Joe Hart's career. But the thing is, Joe Hart had to earn it, and he's come up here, and he was from that first interview, he was humbled. He was like, I want to be here. I want to do everything. And he's put the work in, and he's performed, and he's got to the point where everything that he's gotten that feeling that he's Celtic and what it's about, he's earned it all. And not a single part of that comes down to it was Ange or it was Stevie Woods or it was this or it was that. All the love Joe's getting, he has earned that tenfold over, in my opinion, because you come up here and you embrace our club. You played 90-something internationals for England, but you come up here, you embrace our club, and you don't think you're better than everyone like some ex-English internationals coming up to Scotland. He wants to be part of the team and wants to actually go and do something about it. At the end of the day, he embraced us, so we've given it back to him 10 times over. And yeah, one of the best keepers. I put him in my probably top 5 goalkeepers I've seen at Celtic in my time on this planet.
Yeah, it's the thing about it is that I just love when you see a player like that who wasn't born into a Celtic family or whatever, but comes here and just completely buys into everything we are and everything we're about. Joe Hart is a Celtic man now. He might not have been 3 or 4 years ago, but he is now. And it's evident in the emotion that he showed at the weekend. It's evident in the way that he speaks very positively, not just about Celtic, but about Scottish football in general, whenever he's getting interviewed. And the thing is, like you say, you could say, oh well, Celtic saved his career, whatever, but it's a two-way street, because for every Joe Hart, there's a Freddie Ljungberg. You sign a guy from England thinking he's going to be great, and he comes here and just doesn't do it. And Joe Hart is basically the textbook model now of how, because no doubt in the future we play other players that we get from England, rough time, can't get a game in the first team, come to Celtic to revitalise their career. Joe Hart is the benchmark. Joe Hart is the guy you want to emulate if you're going to do that.
The last one I can think of, Liam, like that's come up and hasn't played week in, week out before coming up here, and it's an old veteran sort of player, would be Colo Torre. Like, he'd be from the Colo Torre year to the 3 years of Joe Hart. That's what we want from, if we're going to bring a veteran guy in to give us some know-how and experience, that's the sort of role we need from them, to be the presence in the locker room, to do the job on the pitch when called upon. That's what we need.
That's the thing which we need to bear in mind. I think Shane touched on it a minute ago. Signing a good goalkeeper is obviously important, but I think signing a big character to be our next goalkeeper is of greater importance. I've used the example before, Man United in 1999. When Peter Schmeichel left them, it wasn't just a goalkeeper they needed to replace. They needed to replace a big character in the dressing room, a leader, a warrior. And we've got the same problem now. They signed likes of Mark Bosnich, decent goalkeeper, very good goalkeeper actually.
Like the nose beers.
Yeah. Aye, well, there is that. Aye. Should have been called Mark Nosic rather than Bosnich. Anyway, then they had Massimo Taibi, who was by all accounts a very good goalkeeper until he went to Man United.
Tunnel ball specialist.
Yeah. Finally, they settled on Barthez, who was a good goalkeeper, but was equally a big enough character that he's not going to be phased by playing at a team like Man United, because he's already won a World Cup by that point. Now, we're not going to sign a World Cup winning goalkeeper. That's just not going to happen. But unless Zoff comes out of retirement, I don't know. But we should be looking at big characters,
on that,
goalkeepers
Liam,
who can lead.
I have a question for you on that, because I was having this discussion with someone, I can't remember who it was. If you've got Joe Hart leaving, you've got someone who's out of contract, Brendan Rodgers knows him, he's won an EPL and he's a big character, would you take Kasper Schmeichel for a couple of years?
Yes, I would.
That is the dream for me in this current situation. You're going to replace one experienced veteran goalkeeper with another, and with him coming up the road, he's not going to be. He'd be the same sort of thing. He'd leave the club and he'd love it. You can just imagine it. By the time he's done, he'll be in love with the club. So that's probably the best of the best that we could probably do if we want to go in the same route with getting a veteran keeper in, rather than getting an Alex McCarthy in or whatever, every other name that's floated. Would you do that, Shane?
Didn't he spend a couple of years in Scotland as well? Schmeichel, earlier in his career, I think he spent some time on loan at Falkirk, if I believe. If I'm right.
I believe so.
It's not something I considered until you mentioned it, but I really like the idea. And what I like about the idea is it gives us some assurity that we've got a strong keeper and a strong character, whilst we then look to shore up our secondary goalkeeping stocks. Because we're not, in my opinion, we're not just looking for one goalkeeper this window. We're looking for two. We're looking for a first time or a first choice goalkeeper, I should say. And then we're looking for someone to be a backup to that. Because I don't see Bain fitting into that secondary role. I think he is, and I've used this term before, he's break class in emergency kind of situation. I'm not sure whether the young kids are at a situation where you'd promote them up just yet. We might want to see them continue to develop. So we're going to need to bring in a keeper that is our first choice, but then we're going to need to have a ready backup just in case. And so that's why I think we're looking for 2. So bringing Schmeichel in gives us the opportunity to then, I guess, work with that a little bit more easily than having to feel the need to, okay, get 2 keepers, make sure one's a character and one's a good shot stopper. So yeah, I do like that idea. The Alex McCarthy one's interesting because obviously he's at Southampton. They're, if things go right, they're going up. He may find himself inadvertently squeezed out with them going up to the Premier League. They might go and find someone else. That's what happened to the Burnley keeper. So he's a good option as well. But I don't know him from a character point of view. So it's hard to comment on that.
Ideally, where we're saying we need 2 keepers, Shane, like this is where we were saying earlier in the year, you bring in Joe Gauci, you have Joe Hart for him to understudy off for a couple of years if he hangs around and then he steps up. Now, if Hart's moved on, if you're to bring in Casper on a 2-year deal, and if you got someone like Gauci, for instance, or even Alex Paulson, the Wellington Phoenix keeper, who's a good young keeper, bringing him in for 2 years, understudy Casper Schmeichel to take his spot long term, I'd be all for that. Celtic Corner saying in the comments, didn't Casper and Brendan Rodgers have a falling out? I don't know, to be honest with you. It's just a name that came up. And there's a bunch of comments here as well with like this. What Forster, if he's available? Fraser Forster. What about Forster if he's available? I think for me, I don't think he would suit the way Rodgers wants to play. I get it, but yeah, it's I don't know, to be honest with you on that.
Not that I want to see him leave the VUC, but Paul Izzo did save another penalty on the weekend. So that's about, if you count the shootout, that's about 5 penalty saves in like 2 matches. So, and he's had a tremendous season. If he's going to leave the VUC, I'd only want to see him in the green and white hoops. So that might be interesting. But Paulson, you mentioned from Wellington's had a tremendous season. And I think he's absolutely someone overseas clubs would be looking at. He's been fantastic.
On all the stats and everything that the stats people look at, he's one that's pretty much, if he keeps going at the rate he's charting and developing, he's going right to the top.
Yeah, so he'd definitely be one we could get in. Yeah, he'd be definitely one that kind of fits what you're sort of mentioning, which is bring an experienced keeper in, have someone learn and be the understudy, but ready to step up, in after that first or second year. And Paulson's probably not at, he will go overseas. I don't know if he's at the level where he'd command a first team spot anywhere just yet. So it makes a little bit of sense if he could somehow find his way to Celtic as a little bit of an understudy.
Yeah. So I'll bring up some comments. So we'll go here. Big Rob. How guys, double champions in the same season, record setting again. Smell the glove. How champions. Andrew Blair, champions again. Ole. Andrew was like, I thought Naroski looked really good. Andrew Reid is saying, heads up if you want to watch the game on Saturday in Oz. It's on Paramount Plus. I think you can get a 7-day free trial. Yes, you definitely can. So that's an easy way for guys over here to watch the game if you're interested. It's on midnight kickoff on Sunday morning, Saturday night over here. Mahesh just made a comment saying, if Rodgers used Kyogo properly this season, league would have been done and dusted before the split.
Possibly.
Sure you looked into it. We've got a few questions here and different topics we'll come back to that John Mulaney's put through, but I'll just bring up this one to start off with. Newsflat, the Rangers are shite.
Bit harsh. I mean, there are things you can do with shite if it's repurposed properly.
John Mulaney was saying about the keeper, why can't we go for Xander Clark and develop the lad?
Good shout.
He had another good game on the weekend. Yeah, another good game on the weekend as well, and he's been decent all season. He's been obviously with Gordon with his injury, he came in at Hearts and he's done a really good job.
He's probably the best of the lot in Scotland in terms of what we could do, and it'd tick a box for Europe too. So fair shout. Now we're gonna go to our next thing I wanted to discuss here on this was the title party. How good was seeing the crowd going absolutely ballistic and everything. I'm going to bring up, while we're talking about Joe Hart, sorry, just to lean on that. I meant to bring this up before. That's the tifo I was
yes.
talking about. That is amazing. Joe gets it. He understand. He gets the club there. Him and WJ. And the celebrations. There we go. Look at that. How good. That is like. That's probably the most animated I reckon I've seen Greg Taylor ever. Look at him. He looks like he's smiling. When does he ever smile? Yeah. You hadn't thought of that, have you, Shane?
I didn't see it with the annotation. I saw it without the annotation and thought, oh, it's just a couple of boys celebrating, and then seeing that as it gives an extra dimension. But just on the Hart thing, I don't want to rehash, and I'll try and be quick as much as I can on this. But seeing that photo of him and Jay, and seeing in the tifo, and Joe's had a pretty long and storied career and played for some pretty big clubs, let's be honest. But to see him come here and embrace the club the way that he has, we embraced him, but he embraced the club in exactly the same in return, right? To see how much the club has had such a profound impact on him and his football career in the twilight of his career, I think speaks volumes for us as a football club. And as a supporter, it's really special to see someone who has had a career like that come to Celtic and be almost left speechless by the support and the club itself. And yeah, he's a Celtic man for life, as Liam said. And, this is in the twilight of his career that we've been able to have this profound impact on him. So, yeah, I as a supporter, you feel really special about that, to be honest.
Well, there it is. Someone's found it in the comments. What I meant, that's the most animated I've seen Taylor ever. There it is. You're talking.
Oh,
Fact.
no.
There it is. Brilliant. All right. So I think the whole title party was great to see them out and about celebrating. There was a guy in the Bumblebee shirt wearing a cop's hat, sending traffic around, which was great to see. 15 people on top of a bus shelter, all this sort of stuff. So it's it was just great to see the boys out there having fun, everyone out there celebrating, and very happy with that overall. Liam, Shane, anything you want to touch on from the celebrations before we get into the last thing from Trophy Day?
Go on, Liam.
I was just going to say that I noticed a few people trying to stir things up this morning, talking about the celebrations in Glasgow city centre. No parks were trashed, no statues were molested. So I think we've got a fair way to go before we catch up with Rangers and overzealous celebrations.
And no fuel bowsers will put up someone's butt. Yep.
No hands were blown off by flares. I mean, there's plenty of things we could go into, but anyway.
My favorite part was just our very special guest who brought the trophy out. Our very good friend.
Well, okay, here we go. Only one of these two individuals has lifted the SPFL trophy in front of a live audience. The other one's a myth. Shane, you set it up perfect. There he is. The thing I love when Santa come out with it, he did the sign of the cross with the trophy.
Yes.
Blessed himself as he stepped on. What a guy. And then James Tavernier, 458 Rangers appearances, 1 league trophy. Santa, 2 Celtic appearances, 1 league trophy. I had them ready to go.
Excellent.
He got a bigger cheer than the goals, honestly, when he popped out from that tunnel. The pub that I was in just went off when it cut to him in the race. And the security guard, if you watch the footage, the security guard sort of standing at the race can barely contain himself. He's just trying to muffle his smile and his laughter. And it was Christmas in May. It was the perfect way to kick off the celebrations. And I think we manifested this a little while ago, both on the pod and in our group chats, as have others online. And I think the club did a really smart thing. So credit to whoever was involved with that. Very well played.
All I'm going to say is Santa came twice this year. Mrs. Claus will be happy.
I'm not sure how to feel about Santa. You know, it's a bit unfair. You know, Santa does that every year, and he gets plaudits for it. I break into somebody's house and empty my sack, and I get 6 months. You know,
You get put on the list, Liam.
Aye.
Brilliant.
Oh, fucking hell.
There you go. Robert Gibson, Santa's reinstated Christmas. And then at Christmas, we sent Santa grabbing his sack. Yeah. So I'm just going to bring up a few comments here that we mentioned early on before we get into the last few things. So John Mulaney was saying, big shout out to Angie McLean and all the backroom staff at Celtic. And how can I get the flag behind Jared? I have a suitcase full of them. That's full of flags. So if you want one, send an email to me at admin@celticdownunder.com and we'll get in touch and arrange all of that. Next one is John's also saying Ida or Miofsky. Shane, what are you thinking?
I've always been a fan of Miofsky. I just don't know whether we can get him or not. But I'm absolutely in the sign Ida camp if we can now. I think he's absolutely shown his importance to Celtic and what he can bring, and I think he'll continue to grow. So, if out of the two, if we could get either of them, I'd lean on Miofsky. But if not, Ida's definitely someone I'd like to keep.
Liam?
Yeah, I'm the same. Both, but if I had to choose one, it'd be Miofsky. Ida's shown that he can score goals. He's shown that he's got power and presence. I like what I see with him. I just think so far Miofsky looks like more of a complete player because he's done what he's done this season in a very, very poor Aberdeen team. So I'd love to see what he's like when he's got decent, consistent players around him every week.
I'm gonna go on a little tangent here. Why not both? Sign Miofsky, loan O up to Aberdeen for 2 years or something like that to get experience and help them out in that regard. So he gets a bunch of games in Scotland. Then we've got Miofsky in. Then we either buy Ida straight up or loan him for another 12 months. And then we've got a decent striker course for the whole season. We've got 3 options, all slightly different. Why not have it all?
Yeah.
The board.
Certainly afford it. We've got the money now. Let's spend it.
John Mulaney was like, how do you guys feel winning the league this year? Personally, I feel like I've just strangled a daft giraffe.
It's one way of putting it.
I think it was great in a way that we I always look at it and go, sometimes you need to have a challenge because to realize, it's not just guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed in life. And sometimes you need this. The good guys come out on top, but it wasn't this close because of them. It was this close because of us. And that's the scary part for everyone in Scotland.
Yeah, I think it's a sweet league win, but it's especially sweet because lots of people, myself included, thought that it was gone, a couple of months ago, and the the utter meltdown from the other side of town has just been. It's right. Do you think this has been as funny as 2012? Because I think it has. I think it's been as funny because at least back then they knew they were crap, whereas now they've had this false hope of actually thinking there's something, and they've ended up blowing it again.
It's an odd thing to celebrate the title and then lose it a couple of weeks later, right?
Aye.
Yeah.
So
with that glorious 3-3 win.
Exactly. The moral victory. Them and the England cricket team have a lot in common. Look, I think we should celebrate another title win, and I think we should embrace it. I don't think we should be too negative. Look, there's definitely aspects of the season that didn't go well, right? There's a European campaign, and I think it took a while for Brendan and co to settle on a midfield 3 and a winger pair up front, and maybe get into the rhythm of things, right? And there were some low moments throughout the season. Let's be honest. I don't think it's fair to completely discard those just because we won the title. But conversely, when the whips got cracking and the pressure did come on, we found what we needed to and we got better. And our second half of the season, in particular, just prior to the split and beyond, we probably played our best football for the season. Hasn't been perfect. There's still areas to improve, but we've been very solid. And I think it's a mark of the two teams in Glasgow. When the pressure was on, we lifted and we found what we needed to, and Brendan got the team where they needed to be, and they didn't. They went the other way. And I think on that we should be much more positive in terms of looking at those sort of things that didn't work out well, and celebrate this, and hopefully celebrate again next weekend, and then from there look forward to what we need to.
They bottled it. Let's just say it. They're going to clip this anyway. So you choked, you bottled it, suffering your jocks. Michael Beale left. How many points behind were they? 7. What did you end up losing the league by? 8. Yeah. But Voldemort was supposed to be the second coming of Walter Smith. Yeah, good one. Good one. I'll just say it. I don't care. let him get abused. I love it. So, all right, we've got one last thing I wanted to ask you boys from the game on the weekend. Odin Holm. Kun chose to give him the trophy, and he's like, nah, and walked off. I can understand that there's one or two ways you look at it. Either he's frustrated because he hasn't played enough in his mind to have earned it, or he's like he hasn't played enough and he's pissed, or he doesn't feel he's earned the right to lift the trophy because he's been injured and hasn't played and so on a lot this season. So for me, if it's the first one where he's having a sulk, then I don't like it. If it's the second one where he's like, I don't think I earned it, I didn't contribute enough, I'll give it to someone else who's earned it, I can live with that. What are your thoughts on that, Liam?
I think it's bad form regardless. I think it's a celebratory atmosphere. See, if you're not into it, just give it the token and then hand it on. There's no need to, there's no need to make a spectacle like that. I think it was just a bit childish and a bit unnecessary. Might have been, like you say, Jared, it might be because he feels he's got a point to prove, but honestly, just watching it at face value, it just seemed like a guy having a sulk because he's not getting his own way, and I don't really have much patience for that.
Shane, how do you take that?
I actually haven't seen the footage, so I'm going to have to go and watch it. I didn't catch this at the time. I hope it's the latter more than anything else, but if I recall correctly, some of his sort of social media posts and commentary would have me believe it may be more of the former. And if it is, that wouldn't be great form, as Liam said. I really hope it's the latter, and he was just sort of basically saying, look, I haven't contributed as much as everyone else here. Let someone else who has contributed celebrate in it more, in which case I can appreciate that. And I think that's somewhat of a nice thing to do, even if it looks bad. So let's just hope it was that.
Yep, 100%. It's just two different ways you can look at it. I'm just trying to find, there was a comment early on in the pod about it that I wanted to bring up if I can locate it. So just give us a second or two. Can't find it. There we go. We'll just go to this comment anyway. We're talking about the keepers before. Alex Paulson from Wellington. There you go. 81% save percentage. That's what we meant before talking about that. So thanks for backing up what we were saying there, Mahesh, with the comment and the stats and everything. Here it is. Stevie boy. Odin feeling that he didn't deserve to lift the trophy. That's what I want. He wants to prove it. Can't fault that. Mm-hmm. So if it is that one. And then we had RL77. Noticed that. I liked it. Says to me he wants to earn it. Staying in Japan, you should be more clued about honor, Liam.
Well, there is another Japanese concept called tatemai, which you might want to look up, Stevie. That's the idea of, not creating an unnecessary scene and saving your battles for another time, which is what I think Odin Holm should have done. It was a harmonious atmosphere, and that created an unnecessary ripple, as they might say.
So like me fighting the stool in the turf bar then.
Exactly. Smell the glove saying it reminded me of Stan Petrov's face in his last trophy win. Something Stan now says he's ashamed of. Looking back, he might say something different, but yeah, it's one of those ones. I just wanted to bring it up because people have been talking about it online. I hope it was because he wants to earn it and it wasn't him having the sulk, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so early look to the cup final on the weekend. How confident are you, Shane, that we're going to get the job done?
Quite confident. Quite confident. I think we'll enjoy our celebration of the league title, and then I'm confident because of how I see them, our opposition, not necessarily just us. I'm confident in our abilities, but I think they've checked out. I think they're absolutely spent. The recriminations, if you've seen sort of the social media and posts online, the recriminations about the failed season have already started. The
witch hunt.
The witch hunt and the stones and everything's being thrown already, not realizing they've got a potential cup that they could win on the weekend. So I think on that basis, I think that they're spent. I think they've checked out, and I think that alone will see us win. So yeah, I'm pretty confident.
Both teams are going for a double on the weekend. Them doing a cup double, us League Cup double. For me, I said on Axom, and I'll say it here, the weekend isn't about them. For me, it's what sort of performance we put out. You get Rogers with his record at Hampden, wide open spaces where they can't really pack it in and keep their shape as tight as they like to do against us. And then our players in the form they're in and the win and having so many wins, and then in their last 14 games, they've only won 6 of them. Their form's patchy as all hell. I'm not worried about them at all. It's more for us what we dish up and how we play. And our Celtic corner saying half the crowd would be cheering Celtic, the other half will be booing Rangers. Exactly. So, Liam, I'll go to you for your thoughts on the cup final, and then but before that, I'll just bring up this comment from Smell the Glove. I just want to get Saturday out of the way and really put the boot in. 100%.
It's going to be the same as it always is when we play them. If both teams turn up, we win. If we turn up, we win. The only way that we might not win is if they turn up, play out their skin, and we don't turn up. Because
or if our bus gets a flat tire.
I will.
There you go. I've thrown Liam
Point
for
being,
once.
when both teams play to their strengths, we blow them out the water, no question. So I'm going to go for a 3-0 to Celtic.
You blow them out of the water, the lavy water. Had to, Liam, had to. Jane, what do you think of your score prediction?
4-1 to Celtic.
I'll give my score prediction on Thursday's pod. Give me a bit more thinking time. But until then, my serious score prediction will be on Thursday. My ridiculous one will be 8-1. Penalty to Tavernier with about 20 seconds left of stoppage time. There you go. And then you've got Inner Hype winning the cup at Hampden will be a scoosh. Smell the Glove. We defend properly. We win by at least a couple. Yep. So, and then we've got here spending out with their means. The new entity have learned nothing from the previous incarnation. I think Atade will grab 2. Stevie boy.
They never do learn. They never do learn. Whether it's money or premature celebrations, they just never learn.
Robert Gibson, SFA, Varn, Huns versus Celtic. Vinny, I'm not sure. I know Beaton has got a job, but Shane, is he reffing or is he VAR? I know he's doing something out there.
He's definitely part of it. I think he's VAR from memory.
I think it was Nick Walsh or something that was given.
I think Nick Walsh is the ref and John Beaton's in the VAR booth.
There we go. Smell the Glove comes through with that. Nick Walsh ref, Beaton VAR. There we go. Somehow remembered it all. Narrow 77. Rangers defensive system.
I'm sure we can flush out the appropriate strategy.
Brilliant. Boys, to finish it off, we'll go for a personal highlight from each of us for the season. So who wants to go first? Or do you want to sit on that for our end of season review?
Oh, look, I'm happy to quickly go. I don't mind, and whether
Go on,
you guys
Shane.
want to hold it off. But for me, the highlight of the season, I had to think about this today. The highlight for the season for me has been able to get out to the CSC here in Melbourne and experience a couple of games with packed crowds where, you know, they've effectively had to close the doors just before kickoff because there's too many people. You know, all Celtic people, all ready to celebrate, all ready to have a good time. It's the first time I've really experienced that, and I've been able to get out to a couple of games with that CSC environment this season, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it each and every time. No stools were hurt in the last couple of games that I attended. But no, I've really thoroughly enjoyed it. And obviously including with that, not to sound soppy, was being able to catch up and actually watch a game with you in person, Jared, for the first time, despite doing the pod for a couple of years now. We hadn't actually sat and watched a game together. So that was awesome. But just being in an environment like that, all the songs, all the atmosphere, and everybody just all in the same room having a great time is something I've thoroughly enjoyed, and I can't wait to do it again. So really, very selfishly, that's my personal highlight of the season.
My personal highlight, I was going to say this anyway, Shane, and it had nothing to do with what you just said, and it wasn't going to be about it, but it was going to be when Shane decided to take the stool to the ground at the CSC. So it actually tied in perfect. And Liam?
My highlight would be getting to see Celtic pre-season, getting them, you know, coming out to Japan, getting to see the games, meeting some viewers in person. That was great, and in particular, a couple of guys I met who I must apologise, can't remember your names, but they met me and they met my lovely wife Kayo. And they said, "Oh, it's great to meet your wife." I said, "Yeah, I'm glad you can meet her as well, so you know that she is real and not a tax dodge, you know."
And as Vinny's saying here, that stool at the turf bar was never the same again for Shane. Yep. Good fun. So with that, I think we'll leave it there, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Hope you all enjoyed Trophy Weekend. Whether you're out celebrating the boys winning, the girls winning, whatever. Hope you all had an absolute belter of a weekend. Key it up for round 2 this weekend after the cup final. And yeah, we'll be back next Monday with the pot noodle to chat through it all with you guys again then. Until then, have a great one. Hail, hail. Final thoughts from you, Shane.
It's all about Melbourne victory. Melbourne victory going up to Gosford on Saturday night to hopefully secure a championship. And it's been a bit of an up and down, topsy-turvy season, but somehow they've managed to make their way through to the grand final with a couple of really important performances. So it's going to be an awesome time up in Gosford. I'm looking forward to it. And all I can say is go on victory, mon the vuck.
I'll go next.
Mm-hmm.
Zeke is on the pod again. Miss him. Liam?
Well, in keeping with the animal theme, I just want to add a wee bit of additional context. A couple of weeks ago, we named our episode Monkey Business, but I never explained why. That previous weekend, Kayo and I had been at the local zoo, and we saw lots of animals doing lots of interesting things, but one of them, I caught a picture of a monkey playing with himself. And as he was sitting there, literally wanking like a gibbon, I thought, no, belong now, we play the Rangers.
Hail, hail, everyone. See you next week.
Hail.